Welcome to Martini Time. So, it's a beautiful day here in Blackstone. I'm glad you've joined me because Blackstone is the center of the universe, but then you too are the center of the universe. And I'll keep saying that until you get it. So I want to read this joyous exclamation of the Buddha when he awoke. And I've read it the last couple of nights, and I'll read it again because it's just very direct into what we're trying to do here, at least what I'm trying to do here. So let me read this. Through the round of many births I roamed without reward. Now, reap the round of rebirths has a double meaning. It could either point to reincarnation, or it could point to your many states of mind through which you've roamed throughout your life. One state after another. Irritation, anger, happiness, doubt, grief, joy, regret, all of these states of mind. And I've roamed through them without reward, without rest, seeking the house builder. Who's building this thing? Who's building this mind that I live in? Painful is birth again and again. Painful are these states of mind. House builder, you're seeing. This is a direct first person exclamation in real time. I see you. Like an avatar. I see you. You will not build a house again because I've seen you. All your rafters broken, the ridge pole destroyed, gone to the unformed. You have disappeared. The mind has come to the end of craving. Okay. Let's continue. You know, I just noticed why I like this old raggedy sweatshirt. I mean, it's falling apart. It's frayed. It's got paint on it. It's got holes in it. And I just realized, you look like a monk. So maybe I am an urban monk. That's who I am. An urban monk. The Buddhism I practice, but I'm not a Buddhist, is urban Buddhism, which is, and again, you get the problem with Buddhism. Is it a religion? What is it? Yeah, you worship the Buddha? No. It's a teaching. It's a science of the mind, but it's not Scientology. It's the active awakening of insight. And it's the seeing of the house builder. It's the seeing of the house builder that builds your mind. And you live in it, looking out the door with your gun, expecting somebody to invade you. That's the house. The fear, house of fear, you see. It's also an ironic house. So I wanted to talk about irony today. And the title I just wrote down is The Irony of the Parkland Students. Now, I was on Facebook, which is where I'm always. And don't crash it, Zuckerberg. And I think the next Time magazine is going to have the Parkland students on them. And I just saw them last night on Rachel, 3 of them. And one of the girls is a Buddhist, and I don't know, but she is a urban monk. Hair shaved, head cut. That's what happens when you become a renunciate. You get your hair cut off. Go to boot camp, cut all your hair. You become a renunciate in Buddhism or yoga, get your head shaved. You know, get your head cut, get your hair cut, because the hair is the symbol of the world. So you're getting the world shaved off, you see. It's like leaving your shoes at the door of the temple. Shoes are the world. Anyway, so the title of this is The Irony of the Parkland Students. Now, I was writing about this today, and it just kind of like hit me. I was seized. I get seized by an idea. In the same way, the Parkland students have been seized by a cause. Everybody's surprised. What? Why aren't these kids playing video games and popping Tide Pods or smoking weed, and getting into gangs and stuff like that? That's what teenagers do. They don't go out and start social movements. You see, what's wrong with these kids? They must be manipulated. George Soros Hillary's manipulating them. They must be phony. They're actors. They're paid. That's it. They're paid actors. Kids don't act like that. That isn't the way teenagers act. Something's wrong with them. It's too phony. You see. And besides that, they disturb me. They want to take away my guns. So they threaten me. So obviously, they've got to be, something's wrong with them. They can't be authentic, you see. Because then that would question my clinging to the house builder. That would question my clinging to the house builder of guns that I've built. Now here's the irony. So what was the cause of the Parkland students? A teenager who was a mass shooter. Now he had a cause. He was willing to, he's going to die for it. Most of them die for it in the cause. It's like a martyrdom. I'm going to die doing this, but I'm going to do it. I'm a martyr. So I'm going down in flames, a big bang. I'm taking everybody with me. They'll be sorry they didn't accept me. They'll be sorry they didn't respect me. They'll be sorry they bullied me. I'm going to take them all down. They'll be sorry then. See, so the mass shooter, particularly the ones in school, but there's mass shooters in theaters and churches and everywhere. But this one's about the mass shooter in the school. And so he had a cause, but he's kind of like a rebel without a cause. I mean, the cause was death. The cause was to end it all, the destruction of it all, the destroyer. I am death. Remember, what was that movie? The Last Country of Old Men. All right, well, a lot of times you have a movie where death is personified. And he doesn't care who he kills. When you see him, you see death. Oh, like in the Avatar, The Last Shadow. When you see the shadow of that dragon, it's the last shadow you'll see. You see what I mean? So this death was his cause, to end it all, destroy it all, to be a martyr in that sense, to go down in flames. And so now what is the irony in it? Well, of course, the irony is that he created his cause, his going down in flames, his shooting everybody, created the Parkland students, who were also teenagers. So you have two opposite teenagers here. Of course, you have a few of the mass shooters, and you have many of the other. But they're both teenagers. They're both in a relationship with the world. One in a death spiral, the other in a life spiral. And of course, he awoke them. He awoke them out of their adolescent slumber, where all they're interested in is video games and chit-chat on Facebook and popping drugs or pills or whatever. I'm not saying that these kids did it, but I'm just saying the common I've run across on Facebook is, well, what do these teenagers know? They're just doing Tide Pods, eating Tide Pods or whatever that is, trying to get themselves cleaned up by eating Tide. So, who can keep up with teenagers, right? What I mean is, it's in the DNA of teenagers, of adolescents, to experiment with risk and adventure and to explore. So what these Parkland students, and this weekend we're going to see, we expect a massive march in Washington. We don't know how big it's going to be, but if the weather's good, it's going to be like a fight in the hall at school. When everybody comes running, yelling, fight, 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 and they all go run and make a circle around the fight. Might be girls, might be boys. Usually it's when girls fight that all the boys love it. And then they make a ring like musk ox and keep the teachers out. Protecting their fight, you see. So what, like this March on Washington is drawing teenagers from all over the halls, all over the schools, you see, with this joy. What an ironic twist, you see. They should be just staying home playing video games, turning away from the world. That's what teenagers do. They turn away from the world and form their own little world, you see. They're not interested in politics. They're not interested in the adult world. They're isolated in their alternate reality, their own little world. They got their own little fashion, their own little magazines, their own secret language, their code, and they turn away from the parents in the adult world. You see, that's what we expect. But this is different. What's going on? They're turning into the world. They're turning into it. They're seized by a cause. They are seized by the cause in the same way that the mass shooter is seized by the idea of death. The mass shooter's pain is so great that he sees the idea of death comes into his mind, and he's compulsed, and he can't let it go because it seems to be the only way out of the pain. I have a sneeze coming. Hey, that's terrible. When my father died, I was standing by his bedside, and he sneezed and died. I think that's why people say, God bless you, when you sneeze. It's very close to death. So you get the drift here. The irony of the Parkland students is that you have two causes here, both rising simultaneously. The cause of the shooter and the cause of the students who want to remove the cause for the shooter. They don't want to fix the shooter. They don't want to go out and knock on every door and find a suspected shooter. They want to remove the cause of the shooter. Make it not so easy. Make it a little more difficult, you see. The shooter, the cause is not the guns, but they just kind of like make it easy. And also the gun culture and the reporting and the society's compulsive obsession with shooting is also part of the cause. Our ritual obsession with a mass shooting usually takes about 2 to 3 days to work its way through the media in its stages of grief. So you have all the stages of grief there. You have denial. Oh, no, it's happened. No, it's not happening again. Yeah, it is. And then the cameras zoom in hoping for a live shot. And then you got all the emotion. What do you feel? What do you feel? What do you feel? And then you got the stories. And then you got the live action reports. Oh, my God, I was under the table. And then if you're lucky, you got a video. And then you got the police and the adults coming, oh, no, it's not going to, we're going to do everything to prayers and thoughts. And we're doing the best to find out what his motive was. We don't know what his motive was yet, but we'll find it out. And if we can find out the motive, we'll be able to end the mass shootings. Not. And so then there's the grief and the flowers and the memorials and the parade of the victims, you see. And it's a national ceremony. It's a national holiday. Not in the sense of, yay, I got off from work, but in the sense that it focuses our attention. You see. And it brings us together. It brings us together. Nothing like national grief to bring a broken society together. A fragmented society longs to come together. The one thing we want is unity. We want to restore America. We want to feel one again. We want to belong to a great America, and not this division of this against that, the teeter-totter of the left and the right. You know, the endless quibbling and the endless infighting, and nothing gets done, and the paralysis of a mind divided. That's what we want to end, you see. And so it's all tied together. These issues don't stand alone. Nothing's isolated. Everything's integrated. So I just wanted to mention the irony I see in the two youths, one represented by the mass shooter and the other represented by the students who are awakening. Their social consciousness is awakening. That's important. They have a cause. They have a reason to be activated, to be engaged. They have a reason to be bigger than just teenagers doing video games. They have a reason to participate. They're entering the tribe. This is a passage. Death is a passage. If you go to the primitive societies, you have childhood and adulthood. There is no adolescence. The child lives with the mother. And when the time is right at puberty, the men come dressed in monster outfits and snatch the child away from the mother and take him out in the woods and maybe circumcise him or beat the shit out of him or scare the daylights out of him or whatever. And bam, he's an adult. He's the member of the tribe. So he goes from childhood to adulthood. Bam, like that. No adolescence. That's the way it's always been done. Historically, there's this rite of passage. The only one we have left is the military. You take the teenager, you slap him in boot camp, shave his head, just like the Parkland student. You send him through hell, you destroy his ego, and you make him a Marine. And he's transformed. He was a long-haired teenager taking drugs, and now he's a Marine. Bam! And that's all we got now. Everything else, the adolescents are on your own. Thanks for dropping in.